Welcome to Motivational Monday.
What's poppin' TikTok? It's the blind time. Y'all already know what it is. We got our boy Daniel hosting. We got Dom in here. We got Herb. We got Bill. And don't forget, we got the mushroom head Dre. Let's hit it.
Oh my god. Oh man.
Come on, host. What you gonna do, host?
You forgot to give it up for the dirty possums.
Today who's the what, Dre?
And dirty possums. You know.
Look, you look at me, I'm afraid to run away. Well, you don't see me.
Oh my lord.
Let me get up out of here.
So today's idea, the Motivational Monday, is talking about diabetes, right?
That's fine. So if you want to know, Daniel, ask us questions then, Mr. Host.
Bruh, I don't know nothing about diabetes. How about you guys? Teach me about diabetes.
Your mother is diabetic.
Would you like to know like signs or whatever?
Yeah.
Wait a minute, hold on now. Daniel, I thought your mother was diabetic.
Uh-huh.
So you do know something.
I know she has diabetes, that's all I know.
Lord Jesus. Okay, go ahead, Christian.
I'm not finna play with
Why you trying to put me in the spot, Dom?
Because you did, that is what you said. That your mama do that.
Yeah, okay, but did I ever say, do I know about it?
Go ahead, Christian. Never mind. Apparently you don't know nothing about diabetes. Go ahead,
well, Daniel, some signs to look out in case your child, whatever you want to look out. First of all, we got number one, the urine. That ain't number one, but we gonna start off with number one. You got the urine, the smell. If it smells sweet, I don't know how urine be always smell sweet, but if it smells sweet or it's like a light orange or yellow, bright yellow, that's kind of like a sign. If you go behind anybody and you see that after they use it and they ain't flushed the toilet yet, and you go in there and it sounds like you pour a pop or like a drink in the toilet and it's fizzing up, that's another sign. Always thirsty, tired, that's another sign. Come on, diabetics in here, don't leave me alone.
I guess you're the only one, Chris.
Now, so the way I found out I was diabetic is one day I went to the hospital and I was getting an annual checkup, and I lost a lot of weight, and I thought I was feeling good about myself. So I said, my doctor said, "How you feeling?" I said, "I don't feel that great, but I look great because I lost all this weight." She ran a few tests, and then she came back in and she said, "You didn't lose your body didn't burn any fat. It was just burning muscle. So all that muscle you had, you burned it all away because you're diabetic." So that was a real eye-opener for me.
Wait, so you can lose weight whenever you have diabetes then, I guess, right? How do you know that?
No, you can lose. You won't lose
muscle,
weight, like you won't lose fat.
The muscle,
you
I mean.
muscle.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Huh. What about...
I don't know, Chris, I can't remember if you just said the frequency of going to the bathroom. And also, you said something about the color. I also know that most of the times that it also is if your urine is really clear, because urine is supposed to have that yellow tint to it. If your urine is really clear, that's a bad sign.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. They went by the orange bright color. Like when I was in the hospital one time, and they was like, "Oh, it's an orange bright color." That's kind of too much. Trying to see what was their word. Y'all know I can't pronounce words, but yeah.
All right. My question to you.
So the reason I said that because my urine used to be clear. So that I guess it's both sides of it. If it's too dark or too light.
I think if it was always told me that if my urine was too clear, that means that I'm drinking too much water. I'm taking too much water in. And then if it's too dark, then obviously I'm not taking enough water in.
All right. My question to you guys is, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So, any of you guys were you guys born with diabetes? If not, At what age did you guys get diabetes?
Well, they said I was born with it, but then they said they died. My mom said they diagnosed me at 4, and they don't see how I was surviving because, like, when I went to the doctor and they test my sugar, like, on that machine, because, like, a regular meter, it'll go, like, to 500, and if it's over 500, it's just going to say high. But on the doctor's machine, she said that it read over 1,800.
Oh, damn.
Bro, I was instantly, juvenile diabetes.
Yeah, so at 4 years old?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then another thing, matter of fact, is like for a child, if they just using it every day on themselves, that's another sign. Because I was doing that when I was a child before they found out. I was just using it and peeing on myself.
Yeah.
Like in the middle of the night.
It's crazy because, a lot of people don't think that as a kid you could have diabetes, you know what I mean? I'm not lying. I was one of those people that I never, I guess you never.
Right now. It's low. Okay, we good now.
God damn. Wait, so with Do Not Disturb, you can still be live?
Yes.
I'm not using. I don't use my Wi-Fi though.
Oh, yeah, you would have to use your Wi-Fi to use Do Not Disturb.
Yeah, because remember my Wi-Fi is really bad. Well, now that you're talking, Dom, what about you?
No, I don't think for Do Not Disturb you do. Because that just puts your phone up. Nobody can get in contact.
Right, notifications.
Oh,
yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, next time I don't know. Dom, what about you?
I'm going to tell my experience, but I wanted to, because I'm coming from the medical side of it, so I was trying to let everybody else go before I spoke medical terminology.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dre.
Well, I found out I was diabetic at the age of 25.
Bill?
I was 30 years old. Year was 2001.
I actually found out at 9 years old. So, yeah, I did. What was I going to say? So, the reason why I was trying to wait to go last is because I was trying to listen to all the symptoms you guys gave and then explain why that was from a medical standpoint. So when you guys were talking about symptoms and Bill said about peeing and losing weight, those are called ketones. And so essentially what diabetes is, otherwise known as diabetes mellitus, when your body is your pancreas in your body is supposed to produce insulin. When you eat, your body breaks down that food and uses or converts it into energy. That insulin is what helps that energy get to your blood cells. So if there is no insulin, your blood cells cannot feed off of that energy. And it just floats. Or that sugar, as people like to refer to, it just floats in your blood. When that sugar floats in your blood, it starts to break down all of your organs. So again, that's why diabetes is such a epidemic, because obviously with it being a bloodborne illness, it has the opportunity to affect everything: your heart, your liver, your kidneys, your brain, your eyes, all of that, because all of those things run off of blood. So when your pancreas doesn't produce any insulin, that's when you go into diabetes. Now, the symptom that Bill was talking about is called ketone. When your body or when your blood cells cannot get energy from the food that you eat, they obviously need something to be able to feed off of for energy, right?
Yeah.
Your blood cells start to eat your fat cells. That's why you start to lose weight. And then when your blood cells eat the fat cells, switching over to Christian, you start to pee out your ketones. Those ketones is what changes the color in your urine. That's what Christian is referring to.
Okay.
So when Christian said the frequency and the color of the urine or losing weight, those are all symptoms of when you can get or when you're getting diabetes. Because now 9 times out of 10, if your body isn't producing any insulin, that sugar is just floating in your bloodstream, and so now your blood cells are struggling to survive. Um, I'm gonna say this, and then I'm gonna go ahead and let you ask your next question, Daniel. Like you said earlier, there's two types of diabetes. You have diabetes type 1, otherwise known as juvenile onset diabetes. This typically is diabetes that when somebody gets it genetically, so it's passed down from a grandparent, a parent, or a distant relative. So you're getting it genetically. Typically, these types of diabetics are skinnier and usually get it at a younger age. And with this type of diabetes, your pancreas produces nothing. No insulin whatsoever. It's just there. Okay? Yeah. You have type 2 diabetes. Typically, type 2 diabetes, your pancreas produces a little bit of insulin, but not enough for your body to do anything with. So typically with people with type 2 diabetes, you find that they are generally overweight. And that's what makes them diabetic, because their pancreas cannot produce enough insulin for the amount of weight that they have on them. Most doctors will tell you if you lose weight, then usually people will come out of being diabetic. And then the third type of diabetes is gestational diabetes, where a woman could go and become diabetic while she's pregnant and even after the duration of the pregnancy.
Don, let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. You said you got your pancreas transplant as well as your kidney, correct?
Correct, yes.
Now, I asked my doctor about that. He said that that's only they only do that in type 1 diabetes. Is that true?
So from what I was told initially, so again, if I go back to like the core of what I just said, most doctors are going to try to get you to do things I call it the caveman way. So like we said earlier, checking blood sugar, taking shots, stuff like that. Most of them are not going to advocate for you getting a pancreas transplant, only simply because the operation is still really risky. And the reality of it is a lot of people who get the pancreas typically do end up abusing it or not really taking care of it the way that they should. I do think they favor type 1 diabetics because essentially your pancreas isn't producing anything. With type 2 diabetics, because of like I said, the quote unquote caveman way of doing things, they're going to try to have you work with the amount of insulin your body is already producing. But another reason with that is if your body is already producing insulin, for you to go then get a transplant, the odds of that transplant meshing with your body is slim. And then the odds of that transplant insulin combined with your insulin is going to also interact well, is also going to be very slim as well.
Okay. So the other thing to piggyback up that is they always say about trying to lose weight, because my grandmama, she was a diabetic for most of her life, but as she started to get older and she lost weight, she was no longer a diabetic. So I think that's another reason why the doctors wouldn't want to try. Because you could actually kind of reverse it with weight loss. Your pancreas making insulin, but it's not making enough for your body size to cover your whole body, pretty much.
And just to also throw out there, again, before you ask your next question, Daniel, transplants are not going to be the permanent fix to a problem as this, because it's not your original organ. It's not meant to last forever. Obviously, you want it to last as long as it can. You can get the longest duration out of it, but those organs are not meant to last forever. Where if you change a person's eating habits, their exercising, in their life in general, if they can change all of that, then really it kind of defeats the purpose of having to get a transplant. And that maybe if they get better, healthier habits, then then diabetes can be a problem in the past, and they don't have to worry about it going forward.
Have you ever heard of a case where someone who has kidney failure, but then eventually down the line their kidneys begin to work again?
Yeah. No, I haven't heard of that one. I've heard of that. I've heard of it, Bill.
Okay.
I heard of it too.
Okay.
So yeah. All right, Daniel. Next question.
All right, next question is we did talk about this a while back ago about when your when your sugar is down, right? Low, like too low. what do you guys take? So you guys could get it higher.
But usually some juice is pretty good, or I have like fruit snacks. I always make sure I try to keep at least 2 things of fruit snacks with me when I travel.
Yeah, I take glucose tablets because having high sugar is bad, but having low sugar is real bad. It makes you just feel real bad. So I usually take like these glucose tablets, 1 or 2 of those, usually get the job done, or I keep hard candy in my pocket.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I was always told to keep peppermints in my pocket. So
Yeah.
peppermints work.
Christian, you want to go? I'll jump in.
Sorry, what, Don?
I was just, you want to answer Daniel's question before I jump in?
Wait, I thought I did.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay, but never mind. Not Christian.
No, he's confused. He's talking about the first question.
Me is telling me Christian down. He just left us talking. So, again, I guess my role tonight is from the medical aspect of it. So, to piggyback off of what we said before, when you have diabetes, you have to give yourself insulin. It's either going to be, if you're a type 2 diabetic, it can be by a pill, or you can take insulin shots, which typically is the way that type 1 diabetics give it to themselves. Again, and this is injected into either the fatty part of your body, sometimes in the muscle. But again, you're giving your body the insulin that it needs to be able to manage your blood sugar. Now, your blood sugar is a amount of sugar that I referred to earlier that's actually in your blood. Technically, and depending on your own personal case, they tend to say that they want your blood sugar to range anywhere between the 80 and 120, guys.
Yeah, 80 and 120.
Right. So once you go over 120, you are now considered high. But once you go under 80, you're now considered low, or hyperglycemic and hypoglycemic. Remember those?
Can I say this though?
Yes.
So the older I get, they switched my number to 80 to 250.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right. And that's true as well. They will adjust your numbers. And that's why I said that it also kind of goes by the person, just kind of depending on what your blood sugars run and stuff like that. So, like Bill said earlier, although it is bad to be high because if you run high for too long, it can cause permanent damage over time. Whereas going low can cause immediate damage. If you end up going low, you can start having diabetic seizures. The list is endless. So again, like I said, in many ways, it's a balancing act. When you eat, you take insulin, you try to make sure you maintain your blood sugar inside of that range so that you're in a safe spot. Some of the things that I remember my doctor telling me about was, like you guys said, hard candy. Well, really any type of candy. I did know, or they did tell me that fruit juice is also more of an immediate fix. So apple juices, orange juices, cranberry juice, stuff like that is going to hit the system quicker as opposed to, well, I think the benefit of having hard candy is it kind of releases over time because obviously you're having to suck on it and all of that stuff. So it's kind of like a slow release, whereas if you need an immediate fix, then they was always telling me that fruit juice might be a better go-to. They do sell glucose tablets and glucose gel. And essentially, like Bill said, the glucose tablets are like little chewy tablets that you can chew on, like a chalky, maybe like a
Tums.
Like a Tums, right? Like a Tums. But then the gel essentially is, imagine like a toothpaste gel. And essentially, you can either stick that beneath your tongue or on top of your tongue, and it will also dissolve on its own and also go into your bloodstream. But I did also want to throw out there is something called an emergency glucagon kit. I don't know if you guys have heard of that.
Yeah, it's like an EpiPen.
Correct.
So,
go ahead.
About the glucose tablets, those didn't even really work for me. Like as a kid and like teenager, them things didn't even really work for me.
Right. And again, like I said, it always goes by each person. So, again, as you heard these guys in here say, each of them offers something different. So, it depends on person to person. The emergency glucagon kit, again, is going to be a kit that has a needle with some liquid already drawn into it. a vial what also has a tablet into it. If somebody has gotten to the point, a loved one that you may know, or a friend or whoever who has diabetes, and has gone and already had gone unconscious or started to have a seizure, this emergency glucagon kit, you take the needle, you inject that liquid into the vial, shake the liquid up with the tablet, draw the liquid back up into the needle, and then inject the needle and push the fluid into the person's either muscle or fat tissue. This is going to be the same result as eating candy, or whatever, but it goes directly into, their body, as opposed to having to wait for it to be, go through the digestive system.
Yeah.
So, can we talk about some of the symptoms of a low sugar?
Yeah. Can I say this?
Hey guys, can I read the comments?
Somebody said in the comments, they just was prescribed metformin because they get diabetes.
Yeah, that was my sister.
That's one of the most common medicines.
Yeah.
Correct.
And I think Drika said something too. She said that she had, I'm going to spell this for you guys. She said diabetes, but it's GESTA.
Gestational.
Yeah, diabetes type 2.
Yeah, after she had her kid.
Right.
Yeah, and then my sister said what Chris said, and then Gia said, "What's up, guys?"
Hey, Gia.
Hey, Gia.
What's going on here?
Don, when you talked about the sugars that are high and low, I was the same way. When they first diagnosed me, they said, yeah, you got to stay between 80 and 120. Obviously, I didn't take heed to that, and my sugars always ran high. So then one day, I had real bad low symptoms. And I was like, well, my sugar has to be real low. Let me figure out what's going on. My sugar was 90. They said, because you had such a high sugar, a long period of time, now your low sugar has went up. So you can't even get a low sugar that low. You can't go below, 95.
Yeah, your body essentially got accustomed to running so high and it adjusted. So, yeah.
All right.
So we're gonna talk about some of the symptoms.
Yes, sir. Start it on off.
Okay, so y'all want to give one symptom per person or what?
Sure.
Okay, so one of the symptoms that I experience is like a weak, jittery feeling.
And this is when you talk about being low, right?
Yeah,
Right.
lows.
So for me, one thing, like I had that feeling what Herb is talking about, but another thing that I went through, I hate to say it, but like I knew when my sugar was low, it was because once I started thinking like suicide thoughts, that's when I knew my sugar was low. And every time I had a suicide thought, my sugar was low. I don't know why, but I always, like, when my sugar was low, I'd be like, I just want to kill myself or do something to hurt myself. I don't know why I used to do that. That's how I knew my sugar was low. And every time I did it, my sugar was low. It was like 50 or lower.
Well, see, and again, I go back to and because this isn't like, because it isn't one of the only blood-borne illnesses with diabetes, because it is a blood-borne illness, like I said earlier, it has the capability of affecting all organs. So I can also, although I never dealt with that, I can also see that being a symptom or a byproduct of having a lower blood sugar as well.
I used to sweat when I used to get my sugar get low.
Okay, well, I shaked a lot. It was almost like, like shaking uncontrollably. I think that's one of my
when my sugar got low, I got extremely dizzy. Dizzy. I needed help moving from chair to chair. I couldn't stand at all.
So have y'all, like, say if y'all just sitting there and y'all just staring in space. I didn't know what was going on, but my mama, she instantly, like, every time I was staring in space, my mom be like, oh yeah, he finna go into a seizure. And every time I'm looking in space and she look at me, she like, I touched your sugar and it was low. Or sometimes I just bust out and be like, ha! And she was like, why you do that? I was like, I don't know. And every time I did, like the yell, she was like, oh, your sugar was low.
So you have to remember, and one of the things that I tried to make sure that I remember when it came to low blood sugar is that when I tell you our bodies are just, immaculate. They're amazing. You have to remember that when your body is lacking something, it's gonna go into a phase where it's gonna try to shut down. So for instance, I always relate it to, like, when you hear about people like being trapped on a deserted island, your body is going to slowly shut down the organs that it needs the least while keeping the main organs that it knows it needs for survival to keep running. And typically those are your heart and your brain. So even in this instance, when you guys are talking about symptoms like these again are byproducts of your body letting you know, okay, look, something's not right. And we're trying to let you know, hey, look, before we start having to press the eject button, we're going to slowly start, shutting down certain systems. So like we mentioned about being weak, or like Bill said about not being able to get up from chair to chair. Your body is now telling you, okay, well, guess what? Now because your blood sugar is low, we're not going to be able to spend energy on being able to move like that because that exerts, sugar or glucose. So guess what? Now we're not going to be able to do that. So right now we're going to need you to sit right here until we can fix this issue before we start allowing that to take place.
My sister said that what Bill said, that's what happens to my mom when, her sugar is 90.
Damn, what? Wait, what happens when it's 90? Because I'm talking about when mine's 90, I'm all right. But when it get like to that 60 and low, oh no, I'm a different person.
So what they're saying, Christian, is that a lot of times when you run high blood sugars for so long, the body will adjust to it. So technically, like you said earlier, your doctor starts you off at 80 to 120. But when you're typically running 2s and 3s and 4s and 5s, your body adjusts to that. So when you do start to run a 90 or 100, your body is like, wait a minute, for us, this is low. We're used to being in the 2s, the 3s, and the 4s. 90 is low now for your body. And so you start to have those same symptoms that you would have had if you was in the 60s or 50s.
So I guess it's different for everyone, right?
Yeah. Okay, so what about higher blood sugars?
Oh my God. Like them high, those are the ones that like tight my muscles away. I don't even want to move. I'm talking about it be so tight, and if I move, it just feel weird to be moving around when my blood sugar high.
So it was funny. I actually heard Dre say one earlier that actually applied to me when my blood sugar was high. Was that if as soon as my blood sugar started getting high, or if I was eating something that I probably had no business eating, I would start to sweat.
Yeah, that too. Well, now I started to sweat when my sugar is low, not high.
Okay.
You get extremely thirsty. I know that.
Yeah. And again, that goes back to what I said earlier about ketones. So now since you're burning ketones and peeing them out, urinating them out. Now since you're burning ketones and doing that, now your body is going to have to replenish that fluid that it just got rid of to get ready to burn those ketones.
One other thing that you do when you urine when your sugar is out of whack is you urine out protein. That's the thing doctors look for, protein in your urine.
Correct. And you know what's funny too, Irv? That's part of how they can test if you're running. Like, you know how they have... So for those of you guys who don't know, if you think that you're spilling out ketones, they have little ketone strips that you can take out, like maybe like a pregnancy test or something like that, and you urinate on it. Well, those ketone strips are detecting protein in your urine. That's how it lets you know if you have ketones or not. It's by a protein in your urine.
Right. It starts out like a white color, blue, dark blue, then you get to that red. Whoa.
Right.
One of the reasons I can tell I was high is my eyesight would start going bad. I started getting those floaters in my eyes, or start seeing like shades of white in my eye. But then that's when it was real high. But when I'm talking real high, I mean over 600. Over 600. Below 600, I couldn't feel anything. But when it got over 600, my sister was work at the hospital, and I went to the endocrinologist for just a regular checkup. And they ran and told her what my sugar was. Everybody rushed in with all this water. She came in on a, ferocious ferocious attitude. Hit me all in my head, just scared to death because it was just so high. They thought I was going to slip into a coma, like you said, Dre.
I think one other thing I'm not necessarily sure of, but I think I start to get like a headache when I'm high. I think
That's a
that too, cuz.
symptom. Yes.
Yeah, my sister was saying in the chat, guys, that I guess my mom's sugar is always high, so whenever she has it normal, that's when she starts, feeling sick.
Yeah.
The only way that I
over a certain amount of time, yeah.
Right. The only way that I really can say to adjust that, because again, high is high. So even though her body has gotten accustomed to running high, it still is not going to be beneficial to her body. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the only way that I can the duration of time, like I think it goes back for like 3 months or whatnot.
It is
right.
3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's 3 months. Yeah.
3 months, right. So what she's going to have to do, Daniel, is that she's going to have to get to the point to where slowly but surely her A1C starts to go down, and her average blood sugar starts to go down, and then her body will adjust with it. And then once her blood sugar starts to get back to that normal range, then her body will start reacting back to where it was when it was 80 and 120 was her.
Yeah, because my new diabetic doctor, when I was like about 23, 24, I'm talking about my A1C was at a 14. She got that thing back to a 7. Boy, I was like, okay, yeah, I need to keep you and recommend people to come see you.
And let me also go out there for people who don't know, if you are not diabetic and you're going to get regular physical exams, your primary care doctor should be checking your A1C at least once a week. Okay? And the numbers to look out for. Is it 5? Is it 5.9, y'all?
No.
I think it's above
7. I've heard.
No. I'm talking about for pre-diabetic.
Oh, it's like 5.6 above or...
We'll just say anything above 5.5 or something like that. Let's just say the high 5, so 5.6 and above. They're going to consider you pre-diabetic. At this point in time, if you are now pre-diabetic, now they're starting to talk about possible medications and stuff because they're seeing that you are now trending towards becoming a diabetic. You are now considered to be diabetic when you're in the mid-6s? Is it the mid-6s or the 7s, y'all?
7.
I think it's 6. I think it's 6 because they want you to keep it under 7. So,
gotcha. Go ahead.
Another thing about being high, like, I wouldn't, feel the tightness of my body being tight. But sometimes when I'm just throwing up out of nowhere, that's another one. It's like, I just stop throwing up.
Yeah,
right.
And I'm not throwing up nothing but just,
right.
stupid, like slob shit.
Right.
Another one is you kind of get a sweet taste in your mouth too.
Yeah. Yep. That too.
Like makes you want, like, how you be thirsty, it makes you want to drink water.
Yeah. So guys, so just make sure that when you're going to your doctor, you're asking for that number and just know your numbers. Okay, the next question.
Next question is for you guys, I know everybody's different, but for you guys, how would it, like, if you guys pass out, what's the easiest way to, to get you up again?
What you mean, like from a seizure, after a seizure?
No, like when you faint, when you pass out.
Well, I never had a faint episode then, or diabetes, but
that's what I mean.
Well, when it comes to those seizures, after you recover, you don't need to be doing nothing but laying down. Ain't no way you can better get up and start moving around. You need to lay down, because after, like, I had a seizure, I'm talking about my body was hurting. So I'm just like in bed until I know I can move again.
I'm sorry, Chris, go ahead.
I had a friend, and his name was Wayne, and he had a seizure. And after he had him a seizure, he got in bed, and he was like, man, I'm finna go get in the shower and whatever. And I was like, no, because after a seizure, you need to be laying down. But he went in there and got in the shower and whatever. Next thing you know, he was in another seizure. And I asked him like that when he recovered. I was like, when you went in there and got in the shower, what you do? He said, I got in the hot shower. Oh, you messed up right there. But I told you, don't move.
Right.
Your body ain't recovered from that seizure yet.
I will say this, from from a nursing background, when somebody is having a seizure, they usually tell you don't bother them, not for just their safety, but for your safety. Obviously, get them help, but trying to restrain them, holding them, or trying to do whatever. Don't do none of that, because again, you could hurt them, they could hurt you, or you could fight them. Yeah. So don't literally, unless you are somebody who is medically trained. Obviously make sure that there's nothing around them for them to like bang into or anything like that. But trying to physically restrain them, do not do that. That's a no. I do know the times that I've had seizures or have passed out. Typically, my mom, like I said, I've gone or passed out to where I was like semi-conscious but not conscious. That's when she would give me juice.
I had those ones too, Dom.
Right. If it was something to where I was low and I was not conscious or something like that, like I said, she either used, which I don't advise this either, she usually used either the, remember the gel that I told you about, or the emergency glucagon kit. The only reason why I don't suggest gel in situations like that is because if a person is going into a seizure and you try to put something into their mouth, because again, they're not in control of their faculties, I have also heard of people trying to put tablets or whatever in their mouth, and the person literally bit off their finger. So again, same thing. If they're in a seizure, it might be your best bet to probably just go ahead and do the emergency glucagon kit.
Yeah, and then after that too, like coming out of those seasons, you're gonna have an injury somewhere, and my injury was always in my mouth because I used to always bite my tongue, and that was the worst ever. Yeah. Bite my tongue.
So I just want to say, Vicky, I see you liking the post. Thank you. Liking the live.
Thank you, Vicky.
Jessica and Latanza are in here too.
Hey, y'all. How y'all doing?
What's going on?
Andrika.
Dre, we haven't heard from you in a minute.
Right.
I never had a seizure or passed out from the diabetes, so I wouldn't know what to do.
Right. You lucky, my boy.
Hey, Dre.
I've never passed
Dogs
out.
don't pass out, Dre?
What's happening?
Dogs don't pass out?
He actually do. He goes to sleep.
But yeah, guys, I've never passed out, but I have had like real lows where I wake up like in the middle of the night and can't necessarily feel so weak that I can't move. So one of the things I used to do was keep like a 6-pack of soda by my bed so that I could reach for that and drink that.
Right.
Because I remember one time I woke up and I didn't have anything, and I had to yell for my daughter, like yelling to try to wake her up so that she could go get me something. Because there was no way I would be able to make it downstairs to the fridge or anything.
So I got a question. What was y'all most scariest moment as a diabetic? Like if you had a scary moment like mine, my mama, she went out of town, and her husband was at work, and I know I just woke up on the floor. My tongue hurting and all, and like I couldn't move. I'm talking about, I feel like I had a seizure in my sleep when I woke up. And then like when I check my sugar, yes, like that. Or if I wouldn't jump that orange juice, when I jumped the orange juice and checked my sugar, it was like 60 something. But waking up, and if I would have checked my blood sugar, I think it would have been like 30 or 40.
I think my scariest moment when I found out I had diabetes. They were like, yo, mine was 1,300, and they kept poking me like, yo, keep your eyes open. And I closed my eyes out and went to a coma. That probably been my scariest moment.
I think my most scariest moment was, so I found out in 2001 I was diabetic, and about 6 years later, I went to my doctor and said, look, I'm having a hard time breathing. What's going on? He said, nothing, there's nothing going on. I want you to go take this echo test and then come back and see me. I went and did the echo test. and I left his office. And by the time I went to the cafeteria that got me a cupcake and come back to my office, they called me 4 times. They said, you got to rush up here right now. And so I said, what's going on? I said, no, I'm not going to tell you, just get up here right now. I got up there, and I didn't even get in the front door. There was people outside waiting for me. They said, they brought me in the back room. They said, listen, only half of your heart is beating. We saw the test, only half of your heart. He said, you have to go down right now. We have to put a stent in you. And they put me in, and they rushed me down. And that was the most scary, because, you know, at that time, I'm a pretty young father, and I didn't know what was going on. I was by myself. I didn't know what was going on. So it was scary.
So my scariest moment as a diabetic was when my kidneys started failing. And the first time I found out about it, what had happened the night before, I was sleeping. And in the middle of my sleep, when your lungs start to fill with fluid, you feel this crackling feeling. And it woke me out of my sleep, and it scared me. But when I sat up, I could breathe regularly. As soon as I laid back down, I might have fallen asleep for maybe 5 minutes, and I'm back up. So that really scared me. That night, I actually slept on the couch, sitting up, and then I went to the emergency room the next morning. But that was the scariest feeling I have ever had, where the cracking feeling in my lungs was just,
oh damn,
it was just scary.
So mine is not necessarily, well, I guess it did kind of physically happen, but my story's a little bit different. So we talked about ketones. Well, one thing that your body will also do is, because like I said, when you run higher blood sugars for a long period of time, although it takes a while, but it can still, leave long-lasting damage with your body. Well, one of the things your body will do to fight those ketones is to produce acid to kill those ketones. This is actually called ketone acidosis. Now, ketone acidosis is one of the final stages your body will go through to get rid of the ketones. Most people don't make it out of ketone acidosis.
You talking about DKA?
Is that what it is?
Diabetic, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so right. I don't know why I'll never always want to put diabetic in the front of stuff, but yeah, DKA would probably be it. So, but anyways, I went to the hospital, same thing like everybody else. Something wasn't right. I went in there. I was in ketoacidosis. So at this point, I'm like, okay, well, I had heard about ketones all this time. I didn't know, in my mind, I knew I wasn't compliant. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, this is just, part of the routine. You don't do what you're supposed to do. You go to the hospital, you whatever. And I'll never forget one day, they were doing the medicine, flushing out the system, blah, blah, blah. But I remember for one day, they never came by my room. And I thought no food, no doctors, no nurses. My mom said she remembers me being in there and just literally crying because I just could not eat. And so in my mind, I'm just like, what are they torturing me? Why in the hell won't they let me eat? And so all I know is I think we went through one more night without eating. And then we woke up the next morning. My mom was like, nah, something's wrong. We need to go find a doctor. So she happened to go find the doctor that was making rounds that morning in the actual hospital. And he said the reason why nobody came by the previous day was because they had already marked me deceased in my calendar. Or not my calendar, but in my chart. Because they were saying the level of ketoacidosis that I was in should have nobody been able to make it out of that. So they had went ahead and written me off and said that they didn't think that I was going to make it through the night.
Oh, damn.
And that a lot of people, like I said, because typically a lot of people do not make it out of ketoacidosis. And again, same thing. Essentially, your body now, to get rid of the ketones, is now attacking all of your other organs just to get rid of the ketones. Yeah.
Damn.
Okay,
I had so many seizures since a child. Can't count my hand on how many seizures I had.
Keep it trained, guys. Oh, Vicky, what was the question that you asked? I can't find it. And Shanice, hello.
Hey, Shani.
Hello.
I don't think they in here no more.
Oh, they're not.
If I don't.
Did you see the question that she asked?
I know. I was trying to scroll up and I couldn't find it.
I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
What's the symptoms of BK?
So, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think it's the same as when you got like a high sugar. I mean, it might be a little more intense, but I believe it's the same as a high sugar level.
Correct. I think like you said, I think the only other thing that I would add on top of that, depending on which stage of ketoacidosis that you're in, your body could have already started to attack the other organs. So, for instance, like Irv said, you could be having ketones. It could be a little bit more intense, but still the same symptoms. But now you can also start seeing other systems or other body, organs and stuff like that starting to fail, or their, function starting to decline. And then essentially when they start running tests, they can then find out that you're in ketoacidosis.
All right, I have a question for you guys. What's an advice you guys would give somebody who's pre-diabetic or that it's already going through that, having diabetes type 1 or 2?
Take care of yourself. Listen to your doctor. Don't be hard-headed like us. And I said,
I double all that. You gotta take care of yourself. You gotta take your medicines. And when you might find it hard to believe, or you might want to feel invincible, I say that only because I did. You're not invincible. Diabetes can and will take as much as it possibly can. So listen to your doctor.
I'm Irv, and I approve all those messages.
Right.
What they saying is true, man. You're not invincible, man. Listen to your doctor and take care of yourself.
I'll say, oh, my bad. Go ahead.
No, you good. Go ahead.
I'll say it after you.
What I was going to say is I do definitely agree with you guys, and I will, second that motion. But another thing I wanted to throw out there as well is typically when I hear people think about diabetes, they tend to think it's a one-size cure-all to it. What if I don't eat sugar, I'm okay. What if I don't do this, then I'm okay. But essentially, diabetes, and again, I say that because I once thought this as well, diabetes is an overall disease that you're going to have to start living a healthier lifestyle. So this is not just I got a high blood sugar, I shoot some insulin up and I'm good. Like, no. It's a whole picture. It's the medicine. It's the eating right. It's the exercising. It's the knowing your numbers and your lab results. All of these things collectively go together to make up the whole circle or the whole pie of what diabetes is. And if you start to slack in any of those areas, so for instance, if you're taking the medicine, but your eating habits are horrible, it's not. You see what I'm saying? You're fighting a non-ending battle. Or let's say you're exercising, but then you're not taking the medication. Again, it's a non-ending battle because it's the bigger picture. It's the whole pie.
Another thing to keep in mind, Don, it's not just sugar that's causing the problem with diabetes. It's also the carbohydrates. White flour.
Yeah, because
bread.
those break down into sugar.
Yeah. Yep. So you got to be mindful of all that stuff.
Pasta, rice, starches like even corn, potatoes.
So, and I'm actually glad, and I thought that might have been Daniel's last question, so that's why I wasn't going to dive deeper into that. But since we're going into the dietary part of it.
Hold on. Let me say this one thing. So, what Bill said about you feeling invincible. So, I also kind of felt like that. And it actually wasn't until I started taking more care of myself where everything started happening. So it wasn't until I actually started taking more care of myself where my kidneys started to fail and my eyesight started to fail. And that's comes to like what Bill said, don't feel invincible just because you're okay now. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon.
Right. Correct. So, since Bill started talking about dietary stuff, so we all know that everything that you eat, excluding vegetables, all have some sort of sugar content to it.
Well, like Herb said, corn and potatoes, they have some sugar into it, right?
Correct, but corn and potatoes are not classified as a vegetable, though.
Okay.
So for instance, when I'm talking vegetables, we're talking, and everybody, I mean, again, if you don't know, ask Google, but when I say vegetables, I'm talking about carrots, green beans, what's another? Asparagus, cabbage. These type of vegetables do not have any type of carbohydrate or sugar in it. So these will not count towards anything. They do not provide any type of sugar or carbohydrate intake. Everything else, like they said, we're talking the starchy foods, the breads, the pastas, the potatoes, stuff like that. And let me go back. Meat, vegetables and meats have no type of carbohydrate or sugar value. So we're talking the breads, the pastas, the potatoes. We're also talking fruit. Fruit also has a higher sugar intake. But to what Bill was saying, when you're talking, like we said earlier, when we're talking candy and fruits, when you're talking stuff with high sugar values, usually you have something that has an immediate spike, and then you have something that has a prolonged, longer duration of, releasing sugar. So for instance, if you were to eat a piece of candy right now, as soon as you eat the candy, boom, your sugar shoots up, the sugar value shoots up, and then it slowly comes down. Right. Whereas when you're talking about white starches or potatoes, breads and stuff like that, the reason why those are more dangerous is because it's not an immediate spike and then come down. It's a slow increase until it reaches the top, then it's a slow decline. And so because of that, when you have such a slow increase like that, whereas with candy, you'll be fighting it for maybe 30 minutes. You could be fighting off sugar. And when I say fighting, I'm talking about like insulin and trying to burn the sugar or the carbohydrate. Whereas like with candy, you could be fighting it off for 30 minutes for the sake of numbers. Whereas with a starchy potato or bread, you could be fighting that off for the next couple of hours.
Yeah. And another thing, a lot of people think when you eat a salad, it's like salads are good, but the one thing people don't realize is the amount of dressing is also needs to be accounted for when eating a salad. So if you're eating a salad that's drenched in salad dressing, you're not really helping with drenching your salad in the salad dressing. So be mindful of that when you eat salads and stuff. And also, fruits are considered good sugars. Mm-hmm. So if you're eating fruits, that's actually not such a bad thing. It's way better than candy and all those other things.
So I think, and I know that, and I'm assuming things have not changed. Again, like we said earlier, regardless of what it is that you help gum, regardless of what it is that you put in your mouth, as you guys notice, everything has some sort of a nutritional label or something that you can research up on the internet. So whatever you put in your mouth, whatever you eat, it's going to affect your blood sugar depending on who you are, because it affects us all differently. You have something called an insulin to carbohydrate ratio. And to break that down, like I told you before, if you are diabetic, then there's a certain amount of insulin that you need to take to be able to keep yourself within that range. We're trying to keep ourselves in that range that they gave us, right? So your insulin to carbohydrate ratio is going to be a ratio that you take when you look. So let's say Herb looks at a package and says, okay, well, I'm going to eat, Herb, what's something that you often eat?
Veggie straws.
Okay. If I'm going to eat a veggie straw, and I know that veggie straw has
17 grams.
Okay, 17 grams of carbohydrate.
Yes.
Okay. your insulin to carb ratio is going to be the number that tells Herb, because it has, you said 17, right?
Yeah.
Because it has 17, his ratio will tell him, I need to take this amount of insulin to cover for these withdrawals to keep my blood sugar in the range that the doctor has prescribed.
Yeah.
And so then that way, whatever it is that you put in your mouth, you know exactly what to take to keep you in that range, as opposed to, I know my blood sugar is 200. I'm just going to take a random number to get me back down to where I need to be at. That's what your insulin to carbohydrate ratio is.
Yeah, the ratio that I was using was 1 to every 10 grams. One unit of insulin to every 10 grams of carbs.
So, okay, I got a question. What did diabetes take from y'all? For me, my sight and my kidneys.
Mine is my sight, my kidneys. I went into congestive heart failure.
Oh yeah, that too for me, y'all.
That's it. I just
Well, obviously my sight, kidney failure, and I had 2 heart attacks.
Oh shit.
Dre?
Yeah, of course, my sight, my kidneys, and my right big toe. Yeah.
Okay, for me, it was my sight, my kidneys. I also had congestive heart failure, and most important, my leg. I am also an amputee.
Okay. I had to let that be known.
Daniel.
Any more questions, Mr.
No, that's it.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie, we damn near went through the whole diabetes.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Was so thick, that was a thick book back in the day.
Right.
So Daniel, since you said you didn't know a lot about diabetes, what do you take from this conversation that can help you better help your mother?
I would say, of course, get her, even though that her blood sugar, even though she has it higher and she feels normal, I guess that's not right. I didn't know that. I thought it was fine as long as she felt good, you know what I mean?
No.
So I'm guessing, get it back to normal, how you were saying. And of course, I don't know which type of diabetes she got, but of course, I know I've noticed her always, being scared when she gets cut, or you know what I mean? But to be honest, I feel we don't take it too serious because we don't know much about this kind of stuff. But now, since I've been, in the group, and then I met you guys, and I think even some of the girls have diabetes, I've learned more about it, and, I think about it more. And it's, shocking how, my mom has had diabetes for over 20 plus years. And until now I'm learning about this, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So do it run in your mama's family?
Not that I know of. I think she's the first one. I think I was talking to some of the guys that I think Dom told me that sometimes certain stuff could trigger it, right, Dom? I think it was Dom and Irv or Dre.
So can I ask you another question?
What's up?
When you was a kid, did she have it when you was a kid?
I want to say I was like, what, 7?
For 20 years, you had to have been 10.
Yeah, I was like 7 or 8, I want to say.
So I'm going to say this. If you want to protect your kids or whoever, look for the signs if you have to.
Yeah.
I think a good way to protect the kids is from the start help them learn to eat better than apparently we have been eating.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with what everybody is saying. And even if just for nothing else, to be quite honest with you, regardless of if you're diabetic or not, we all probably need to be eating a whole lot healthier than we actually are.
Right.
So I mean, I think even taking diabetes off the table, we all could stand. Even those who are listening to the live, that's right, I'm talking to you. We all could probably stand. We all could probably, hey, I'm calling y'all out. We all could probably stand to live a couple of better lifestyles. Again, I mean, I know that given our certain circumstances, that things are a little bit harder, but yeah, again, and even like if I think back to what I said about diabetes type 2, that also equates to living more of a healthier lifestyle. So I think if anything else, just remember that. And I want to say thank you to Irv, because I think Irv brought up a good point, and to kind of piggyback off of what I wanted to say to Daniel. If the facts are still correct, every 1 out of 4 people is dealing with diabetes. And that's not accounting for the people who have not been diagnosed yet. So there are still people out there who have diabetes and do not know it yet. So I definitely do think that diabetes, regardless of what type it is, type 1, type 2, gestational, regardless of what type it is, I really definitely believe it's a whole lot closer to each of us than we believe it is. So I do think that it is beneficial that if you're dealing with it, if a family member is dealing with it, a loved one, a spouse, a friend, try to research it and find out about it, or try to learn something about it, because you really could save somebody's life. You really, really could.
Yeah, I can't remember the numbers, Dom, but I did post a video on the page about the ratio of how many people they say in the U.S. have it.
That was like the beginning when you did that.
And let me, no offense to anybody, I love all my people, all colors, shapes, and sizes. I'm talking to my African American people out there too.
Yeah.
More specifically to y'all, it's running rampant in our people.
Yep, high blood pressure.
Really, all of that. It is running rampant in our people. I'm not saying it doesn't run rampant in other cultures and races, but it's really running rampant in the African American community. Please, my people, my brothers and my sisters, please, please, please go get checked. Go ask your doctor. Like I said, know your numbers. It's running rampant out here, you guys.
Preach, my brother.
Anybody got anything else to say before we wrap it up?
Take care of yourself.
Yeah,
ready to go down?
Huh? Well, you guys have more questions? I don't.
No, I don't have any more questions.
Nah, I don't have no questions either.
You can see if the audience has any questions, the people on the live.
That's what I was going to say. Did you ever figure out what Vicky's question was?
No, she left.
But I mean, her comment should still be there, right?
No, I scrolled up and I can't find it.
Did you see it?
No, I didn't. I was like, what she did? And she said, she said, hey. Because, if we don't see it, it means it must something that TikTok didn't like. Because they do that on people's lives too. Like, if it ain't, I know it's probably a good ass comment. But I just seen her say hey, and you can say hey, and people came in. But Vicky, if we ain't see it, just ask us when we get to you. Or come on the next live. Thanks.
That echo.
Your favorite blind. Who is your favorite blind? Something I can't see it. Your favorite blind something. Said hashtag FYP. I don't know who that is.
Your favorite blind couple.
Oh, okay.
That what it says?
Yeah, it's Chris. Dom, you got anything to say?
Yeah. Hey, I feel like I've said everything.
I'm telling you, remember that diabetes book where it had like the blood cells had eyes and shit, and they were talking to the kids. But we went through that whole book.
Yeah, they had a class and everything with it too.
Right, a whole class.
Is Bill still here?
Yep.
You got to say, Bill?
I thought tonight was a very good live, very good. And if anything, this is all we want to get out of these lives, or even just interacting with you guys. We just want you guys to take what we've been through, what we're going through right now, and we want you to take heed to that and, make changes in your life. We're making changes now, but in some things it is too late for us. But if it's not too late for you, if you're just being pre-diabetic, Chris asked it, Yeah, if you just listen to what your doctor says, take heed of that, and make changes now. I believe that you'll come out okay.
And matter of fact, just don't get any doctor. Cause there's some doctors out here like, well, here you go, do this. I think it's gonna make your diabetes better. Cause that I went through that, but then I got my Sydney Earl. Boy, she did me good. Got me back to a 7 from a 14. So make sure y'all doctor is keeping it real with you and not just you buy medicine for their money.
Yeah, make sure they hold you accountable. You want a doctor that holds you accountable.
Can I also say this too? When you were talking about your mother, Daniel, I also think that an insulin pump and a CPM will probably do her good.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think she wants to do that, but I could, ask her and see what she says.
And like the blood sugar, she pokes her finger, right?
Yeah.
Right. I would say if she don't want to do that, I see if Amazon got a Dexcom, and I send you the link where it tests her blood sugar without her poking her finger every day. She'll love shit. That's what that's called.
Yeah, well, the brand name is Dexcom, so different companies make it, but they're called continuous glucose monitors.
Yeah, but with those, she still would have to be careful. She still got to poke herself once to calibrate it every day.
Right.
So poke like one patch is like the lady told me it lasts up to 14 days. It's like, okay, we can do that. 14 days, change it out. 14 days.
Well,
take it out, right?
The one I had was every 7 days.
Oh yeah, I had 14.
So maybe the different, like, because there's a Freestyle Libra, there's the G. I think it's like they're probably on G6 or something like that. But I had like a G5. There are different brands, and I believe the different brands have, different.
Because I know the first one, the first one I had, I was feeling like a little beeper she gave me, but then she said come back and get this new one. It's like instead of I having like a little black beeper, she hooked that little thing. She put it on my like above my waistline. She hooked that junk up to my phone.
Yeah, I think that's the Dexcom. That it's an app that you download that you can just look at, and and you can program it for what you wanted to notify you when your sugar gets low, and where you want it to notify you when your sugar gets high. And that Dexcom app also has a way for your doctor to stay linked, that your doctor can see your glucose.
Let me get They see it's going low. Oh, hey, look, let me call him. Yeah, that's what she was like. This she was like the new one. I don't know where I was at, but hooking up to my phone made it better.
Yeah, right. Because all you gotta do is pull your phone out, and I actually had a shortcut on one of my home screens that all I had to do was pull it up, and it was already there.
Well, Chris, send me the link whenever you have a chance, bro. And I think I asked Dom for the link of that gel pen you told me about, Dom.
The gel, it's not a pen, but you're talking about the gel that goes on your tongue.
Yeah, that one.
I didn't know I hate that gel.
So real quick, for those who are wondering exactly what it is that Herb and Christian are talking about, like I said earlier, when you're diabetic, one of the ways to check to see exactly what your blood glucose is you have to prick your finger. And so they have blood glucose monitors where it has a testing strip. You put the testing strip in the machine and you prick your finger. And when blood, when you draw blood, it'll, and it takes a small sample of blood. You'll put it on the test strip and the machine will tell you exactly what your blood sugar is. Now, again, this could be multiple times a day, whenever you feel like you need to, before meals, after meals, however many times you need to take it. And then as well, like I said, as far as insulin goes, you can either give yourself insulin via an injection or you can take pills. What we're talking about, like with insulin pumps, essentially for those who have to take insulin injections. The insulin pump, again, depending on what type it is, sometimes they're shaped like beepers or other devices, but essentially it's a device that is somehow attached to your skin and it delivers insulin to you. So you don't have to give yourself injections once, twice, or multiple times a day. You can actually queue up the device and have the device actually give you the insulin. Obviously, because it's stuck to you, you're going to have to change it every so often because we don't want infections and all of that other type of stuff. But that's what an insulin pump is. A CGM, or continuous glucose monitor, is a device just like the insulin pump that is physically attached to you, but continuously is drawing tiny little samples of blood and testing the blood to make sure that you're in your range. You can, like Irv said, you can program it to where if the CGM is connected to your phone, when your blood sugar goes beneath a certain number or above a certain number, it'll notify you, it'll alert you, all of those things. So it's constantly checking your blood sugar, so then that way you don't need to also be checking or pricking your finger multiple times a day.
And about the insulin pump and the Descom, or how you said, the CBT?
CGM, continuous glucose monitor.
What he said. The pro and cons about those. The pro, you're gonna love them, they're gonna help. But the con about it, you put it on your body, like on your waistline or leg or something. Watch how you take your clothes off, or watch where you walk, because that junk will get snatched out to wherever you got it.
Yeah.
It don't hurt. You just don't be mad because now you got to use a new patch.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. That's how I was, Christian, because I always wanted to put it like on my butt or like on my hips and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And every time I pulled my pants up or, underwear or whatever, it was always pulling it out. So the same thing, like with that, naturally, they're, because, me and Christian are part of, hashtag, skinny boy. It's not a lot of fatty places we can put it at, but generally they're gonna tell you to put it in a fatty place. So this can be on any part of your legs, your butt, your stomach, anywhere like that.
Look, the hat trick around that, get that bandage wrap tape.
Right.
Take that little leg up, man. Whatever you trying to do.
Well, one of you guys can make a video so we can post it on the page about this.
So can I shout out? Can I try to shout out the what are they called? The top viewers.
Go for it.
Oh yeah. So shout out to Robert 78_78. Shout out
brother for tuning in.
Shout out to Gia. Shout out
Urban.
Shout out to Drika, Miss Lakeisha, 843. Shout out to Nikki, Purple Land.
Hey, you see, Herb? That's how you had to do it, Herb.
Shout out to Chunky Simone. 420.
Oh no, no, it's Chucky's mom.
Huh?
Chucky's mom. That's Drana.
Oh.
Chucky, not Chunky. Chucky.
Oh, my bad. Y'all know I'm blind. Chucky, sorry. Hey, Joanna. Shout out to Latanza. Darnice Nieves.
Hey, Shanice.
And
like you said, the name of somebody that came in. I thought you was saying like the top gifters or something like that.
No, they're top viewers.
Yeah, that's
what
they are the top viewers.
What's that mean? I'm confused.
Like they've been here in the live
for a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
That was it. The last person was me.
Oh my God.
Yeah, thank everybody for tuning in from the Voice Self Lines and everybody.
Yes, sir.
Y'all say y'all names, man.
Okay, now everybody at once. This is Daniel.
You can go first, Daniel.
Daniel. That's it. Go ahead, guys.
I'm everybody not saying that word. You can go.
Go ahead, Dom. Now you're the one talking. Go for it.
Dominic.
And Dre. And Herb. All right.
Thanks for watching. Until next time, Blind Titans out.